In film, comedy and horror are undoubtedly the most subjective genres out there. Both genres have to affect you just right, or else you're just not going to get anything out of it. Some people love found footage films like Paranormal Activity and The Blair Witch Project, while others find those to be boring and not at all terrifying. But on the other hand, The Conjuring, which is widely loved, despite being filled with horror stereotypes and jump scares galore, it doesn't exactly make it as unique as some claim it to be, so people's preferences vary. Some enjoy cheap jump scares and predictable frights, while others lean towards psychological and imaginative terrors. So here's my disclaimer for this review of Night Swim. I could love it or hate it, but it doesn't really matter at the end of the day because it's all subjective. Night Swim tells the tale of a haunted pool with a dark allure, causing harm to some while inexplicably healing others. The family takes up residence in the house that has this enigmatic pool waiting for them in the backyard. They must dive into its mysteries to evade its dangerous influence and uncover its mysteriously demented power. First and foremost, I guess I gotta answer the question on what sort of audience will benefit the most out of Night Swim. As the film is produced under the Blumhouse Productions name, you'll mostly know what you'll be getting out of it if you enjoy their other productions, which is adequately compiled horror films that rely on tried but true attempts to scare audiences, and in the grand scheme of things, Night Swim is exactly that. It's going to feel like an extremely conventional horror flick. Now, depending on who you are, there are two perspectives that you can choose to have, which might make this film a perfect choice for you, or kind of a trash experience. So let's break those two things down. The first thing is nostalgia. So as I said, the film is conventional in its approach to horror. Now, conventional is a word that tends to have a couple of connotations associated with it, and they're not all bad. For some people, conventional is exactly what they're looking for because it invokes nostalgia. I mean, yeah, there are a handful of classic horror films you'll immediately think about when you watch this film, such as Jaws, It, Poltergeist, 12 Feet Deep. The list kind of goes on and on. And on. The good thing about that is that it'll work for you if you don't care so much for originality, because you love those other films and you want to feel kind of a slight spark of what those movies provided for you. It should also be noted that apart from conventionality, the film is competently structured, as Blumhouse Productions often are. The film looks and sounds fair, certain aspects of its jump scare allure were indeed memorable, and it was all around a pretty decent concept. The other way that you can look at this film is how unoriginal it is. So, if you're somebody who cannot get past or forgive the lack of originality in Night Swim, then you're gonna be struggling with the film as a whole. It seems to be a mashup of every other horror film you've ever seen in your entire life, and a poor imitation at that. There's nothing original about it except for the basic idea of a haunted pool, which did pique my interest, I'll be honest. However, the explanation for why it was haunted felt weak to me. It was somewhat original, but that was the only time that I would have actually preferred a trope excuse. For instance, the characters have natural water flowing in from the land around them. The writer could then have these characters discover the spooky truth that the land used to be a cemetery. Woo! I mean, come on. If you're going to imitate every horror movie ever told, you cannot just skip that aspect. Fully commit, Go for a lighthearted, tongue-in-cheek approach, because that might have actually saved it. Unfortunately, one of Blumhouse's consistent issues is taking their own projects a little bit too seriously. I wasn't kidding before when I said the nostalgia and shout-outs to previous horror films might be enough for some people, but I've always been on the other side of that argument. Psychological horror is much more effective. That's the stuff that burrows under your skin and it stays with you for years to come. I can still be scared watching that first Paranormal Activity film because it allows your imagination to go wild and create the image of the demon for you. And your mind is the only thing that is capable of conjuring your worst nightmare. Films like this remove that spark of curiosity by showing you these creatures up front and personal, which can be scary. It can also be kind of lame and cheesy, but no matter what, it will not be as good as whatever you can conjure up in your own mind. So it gives a much lower possibility that audiences as a whole will connect with that. When I initially saw the trailer for it, the movie excited me. I was anticipating it for a while, and I was actually shocked to see how many people claimed the film was a dud. I couldn't believe it. But then again, I almost never trust anybody if they say a comedy isn't funny or a horror film's not scary, because like I said, it's a moot point. It doesn't really matter, because for some people, no matter what, this film will be perfect. It will be terrifying. They'll be watching it every single year. And for others, it'll be a waste of time and energy paying attention to the film as a whole. For me, like I said, it wasn't all that great. It was a waste of time, at least for me. At the end of the day, it could have easily gone a different route, better route. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna be giving this a rating of D+. That's what I think it's worth. But until next time, guys, have you seen Night Swim? Are you a fan of it? Do you hate it? Let me know. As for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit the like, subscribe button, and bell to be notified when I come out with my next review. And until then, peace out.
Night swim in the silent pool where the water's deep and the night is cruel. A whisper of waves, a shiver so grim. Beware the lure of the night swim. In the backyard lies a secret dread, where the spirits speak and the fears are fed.